We are live,
Yes, we
and
are.
lovin' is what we got. Hold on, come on, give me my hearts. There we go. I had to open up my fingers a little wider. There we go.
Mm. Let's show the
Sending out a
people some
little,
love.
sending some love to our audience who isn't even here yet. We've got 0 people, but on the rewind, if someone watches it,
Mm.
they'll know. 2 people just showed up, so we'll give them a little love. There we go. Float those hearts out to the world. Good evening, Tit Goblin. How are you this evening? We're just here ready to talk some comic, and some Don Perlin is our old timer who passed away this week.
Yep.
And I realized I don't think I have any Don Perlin comics.
Oh, I do.
I know he was on the Defenders. I think I bought
Yeah.
some Don Perlin Defenders, but I've got rid of them years ago. I think I remember him from Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he did Ghost Rider and Werewolf by Night.
Yes,
He-
World by Night, right.
I
Oh,
don't
that's
know
what
what he was doing in the 60s.
then the Don Perlin comic that I have is the facsimile of the first Moon Knight
Mm.
and second, because he drew those,
I don't know what he
if
was doing
memory
in
serves.
the 60s. I've seen his name going through the Grand Comics database on 50s stuff.
Well, let's
Uh,
see. I actually saved this. Let me share my screen. Where is it? Is that it? Facebook. That's not it. Hold on. I doesn't seem to be up. That's right there. How come? It's the Daily Cartoonists tribute to Don Perlin or whatever they're talking about him. Is that the Daily Cartoonist? There we go. There's Don Perlin. His announcing was asked, and here is something above a 1951 and 68 adventure by Don Perlin. Focus Danger. Let's see. Don began his career in 49, but early 50s he had settled in with Marvel, then Atlas, until Stan Lee was forced to cut back. Don then became a regular at Charlton from the 50s into the 70s. So there's a little fighting army, a little teen confessions, a little golden legacy. In the 70s, he returned to Marvel Comics, where he most famously worked on Werewolf by Night, The Defenders, and co-created Moon Knight. In the 1990s, Don left Marvel and joined Valiant Comic as art director. Did he draw this Moon Knight cover?
not sure if you did the covers. Let's see this Marvel
Yeah,
Spotlight
I'm not sure either.
28.
There's a little Werewolf by Night.
Marvel Spotlight 29. Okay, so Marvel Spotlight 29. No, 28. It
Tit
is. It
Goblin
is.
says he has some bad eggs. What
Mhm.
was that?
It was his cover, yeah,
Okay. I
because
wasn't 100% sure.
he didn't do a lot of defend. I don't think he did the Defenders covers when he. I think
Uh,
most of those are by Mark Badger or something. Uh, but Berlin was a regular from about 130 issue 130 all the way to the end, minus a
yeah,
couple of issues.
that I was long off uh Defenders by then, so I didn't have any of those.
Yeah, the Defenders was not something that I would normally read, but it was a backup in Captain America at the time, in the
Right.
Brazilian editions. And the publisher didn't really spend that long on Defenders. They did the Defenders all the way up to Avengers Defenders War, then absolutely nothing of Steve Gerber. So no
Uh-huh.
stories with nothing with Hellcat, nothing with Son of Satan and the revolving door of memberships. But then they started putting in the Defender stories because they needed to set up X Factor beginning.
Uh, I knew
And,
I
and
knew
they had to
Don
explain.
I knew Don Perlin only briefly. Because as they said there, he left for Valiant in the 1990s. I think he left in early 1990. Because just when I was starting working for Marvel, he was leaving for Valiant. It was like I don't remember how long he was at Marvel with me before he left, but I think it was only a matter of months, if even that long. But he was a nice guy. Most people have nice things to say about Don Perlin.
Yeah, he was put in a position where he used to teach interns how to draw or something.
He was the assistant art director. John Romita was the art director. And then there was these guys called Romita's Raiders. Scott Koblish was one of them, who we've talked to before. Hello there, Mind the Comics. And there's a whole bunch of people, and what Romita's Raiders were they were sort of art apprentices. They got paid minimum wage, which means they were making like $7 an hour in Manhattan in the 1990s. So it's like they were getting paid. I don't even know if it was $7 an hour. It might have been less than that. But they got to work with Don Perlin and John Romita and do art corrections. So that's where they got to learn their craft, doing art corrections at Marvel. And it was a 1-year program. So you were only Romita's Raider for a year, and then you went off and hopefully got some freelance work. And a lot of them did. Because that was part of the program, people saw them as, deserving of hello there, sleepy reader, freelance work, more than somebody who wasn't a Romita's Raider. It wasn't any guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. But you had a better chance if you were a Romita's Raider than if you weren't,
Right. Because now you went in with the editors.
Right. And
so
they saw you as a comic book artist. Even if they weren't going to hire, like as opposed to somebody in the production bullpen, they never saw as comic book artists. Everybody who went on to be comic book artists from the bullpen quit and got work at DC or somewhere else. Like Paul Azaceta in the 2000s was one who was in the bullpen, and he quit, and he had, he's been working ever since then, but he had to quit and then get work. And Sergio Carrillo was another one. He was in the bullpenner. He quit after a couple of years and got work from DC. Nobody at Marvel was giving him work. So it was like, yeah. Don Perlin, not for bad. Now I feel bad for not being a fan of his. I was never a big fan of his artwork. I mean, like I knew him only a little bit at the beginning of my tenure at Marvel, and he was a nice guy. Well, but I can't say I was a fan, though I always have liked that Moon Knight cover. That's a good cover.
He didn't have one of those magnetic styles that people want to follow, but you knew that you were going to get a good story with it. So you had to be a connoisseur of comics to be into Don Perlin and understand what he was doing. So I got used to him because I was pretty young. So, and he was
right
in the Defenders being a regular backup story in Captain America. I got used to seeing him. Although the first story that I read was drawn by Alan Kupperberg, who is much I thought was much better. So I did need to warm up to Perlin and figure out what the thing is. The thing is, Perlin's work is full of subtleties, which is why most people probably wouldn't appreciate it. Most people go for the flair and the explosions, and they don't understand subtlety, especially.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a superhero guy he was.
Right, he wasn't. Because I've mentioned this before. The Defenders was the only proper horror comic in Marvel's line during the the mid 1980s. Not even Doctor Strange was a horror
Right.
comic. It was fantastic adventures, let's say.
Yeah.
But even when there was no supernatural theme, um, the stories were very cerebral in a way, or it was not cerebral. They had an emotional appeal that made you think about it afterwards. It lingered,
Mm-hmm.
and and if you reread the story, you start noticing the little tidbits there, the way that a scene was, that the camera was positioned, or the when he was looking at a certain character face, and there were interesting expressions, and it's something that you can only do when you've been in the business for 35 years, which Perlin had been
Right.
in in the 1980s.
Yeah, I have to look at that. I don't think I've seen any of that Defenders stuff since I don't know when. But Asleep, he says here, he was kind of the ideal gym shooter artist, very plain and simple. I have to say that Valiant stuff he did, he got a lot of good sort of illustrative inkers on him.
Yeah,
So
and that is it, because he being an artist from the 1950s,
yeah,
people probably complain. Yeah, he has that old man artist look.
right.
Uh,
Those inkers gave him a different look. All the
right,
basics were there, and they could kind of go off.
right, and I
For me,
remember
it's been
too.
stiff and visually small. I would have to
Mm,
agree with you. That's why I
mm,
found him a lot sort of but his, is it his Valiant stuff I liked better. His art on Valiant seems stronger than at Marvel. Yeah, I think that was the inkers. I also think he was the art director, so he got to pick what inkers were on him.
yeah, and
And
his anchors, I remember too, Kim DeMulder and Art Nichols.
yeah, yeah.
And I think DeMulder was better. I think it was more Perlin when DeMulder was inking him.
Okay.
Uh,
You
but but they both the both inkers contributed to making the his art look three-dimensional. But when the storytelling is all Perlin's,
mhm.
and considering that the Defenders is not supposed to be a typical superhero comic, that there's not much fighting. Indeed, the action scenes, I can the action scenes, they don't seem to have much going on. You don't have that way to draw punches that John Byrne had, for example, or movement like Frank Miller freezing the camera. Um, you Nor did you have that grandeur that you saw when Dave Cockrum was doing space scenes. You don't have you didn't have that. So it's really not about the
Wilson's here with us underneath
yeah.
the vision.
I
You've convinced
yeah.
Sleepy Reader to take a new
Yeah,
look at
here's the thing. There's an issue where they go to the Beast go the Beast is doing a series of college talks, and he hasn't been on the with the team for quite a number of issues. So
Mhm.
he's always being shown going to universities and talking. And there's one where he meets up. There's this guy. He's
Oh,
a mutant, but he has very low level, basic level powers. He has X-ray vision, so he wears glass. Because of that, he has to wear glasses, and he has 6 fingers. Um, and and it's that type of story where there's a lot of talking,
yeah,
that you notice the way that the storytelling is being how the movement is important to set up the mood, and the way that people are talking, and the way that their faces are drawn. You know that there's a certain way that the characters are speaking then and there, even when they're doing monologues or or thinking out loud. They have this way of talking, and to me that's Perlin, and that's what he contributed to the Defenders. If you were looking for action, it wasn't there, of
right.
course, but it's It's those moments when
quiet
you really,
moments.
yeah, not only quiet, because there's nothing happening. It's like Hallmark. It's not Hallmark TV drama.
Uh-huh.
But it works. It works, and it makes it look genuine.
And since there are 3 comics up, Tit Goblin's doing a read, rip, and slab. He'll read Werewolf, slab Moonlight, and rip it. We're all going to be ripping bad eggs. That's pretty much that. That's why I would never make that one a read, rip, and slab, because everybody's going to be ripping bad eggs.
Oh,
Because
no,
we
no, no!
don't know what it is.
I'm going to slab bad eggs. Because if they're slabbed, you can't smell them.
Let's see here. What were the other ones that were on before it?
The earliest work from Perlin that I see here on the Grand Comics database is
Yeah.
a one-pager published in the Beyond #1, November 1950 cover from Ace magazines.
62 Lefty Blues thought it was a read, rip, and slab too. Yeah, it's like anytime you see 3 comic books up here, you're probably going to think that.
Oh, and he did a Classics Illustrated. Number 162, Robert the Conqueror.
Do you remember who was drawing the Defenders before him?
No, because I didn't read those.
I can't remember the artist who was on when I stopped reading the Defenders, which was probably around before issue 100.
Ooh, there's a couple of issues of the Phantom from Charlton here.
Nice. The Phantom. Giffen was much earlier. Giffen was like around issue 50.
Yeah.
That's where I was introduced to Giffen doing his Kirby impression.
Yeah, maybe it was Kerry Gamble, was it?
I don't know.
It was the last few issues by J.M. DeMatteis, which had the Secret Empire. Cloud joins, and then Peter B. Gillis takes over the writing, and that's why Perlin was a good fit for him, because Gillis is good with that, with whole issues full of nothing else but talking, and make it seem exciting to read and to keep coming back for more.
Matter of fact, I think I may have been out with everybody on Don Perlin's last day at Marvel. They usually if it was someone's last day, everybody'd go out to lunch, sort of have a big lunch send off. I don't really remember, like it was so early, so long ago, and so early.
Perlin did the finished art over Sal Buscema layouts on the Defenders for a Day, the storyline, the one where everybody joins the team for an issue.
I'll have to see what issues of Defenders I have left.
At the time, it was a regular on Ghost Rider. I suppose that's why he wanted to. Ghost Rider appears Johnny Blaze and his wife Roxanne. They appear in one issue of the Defenders. This was after he was cured, but I guess it must have been Perlin's idea, just because he wanted to. He probably wanted to see that. You wanted to see in a story that everything was okay with Johnny Blaze after he had left after the title ended.
Wow, the last issue of Defenders that I have is issue 50. That means I got rid of a whole bunch of issues of the Defenders that I was never going to read again.
Okay, there's a lot of Defenders here.
Just checked my database. It's like Wilson's having some connection issues tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a lot of Defenders.
Did Perlin seem bitter about comics in those days, Jared? No, he didn't to me, but that's because he had a good job. He was assistant art director at Marvel with John Romita, and then he moved on to Valiant to be art director. So I think he was one of the ones who had a good job. So I don't think he was bitter. He like I said, I only knew him a little bit. As a matter of fact, I think I was over at Valiant once or twice, and saw him and talked to him, and he didn't. I mean, I got to imagine when you're at Valiant in the early '90s as art director, you're happy as a clam because that's one of the stable jobs at in comics because he
So
was drawn.
Perlin was working on the Defenders with J.M. DeMatteis, which are the stories that I didn't read. There's a there's a couple. All right, so where does it start? 82.
Okay, so he was the artist when I quit the Defenders.
Mm-hmm.
Perlin. He was there for a long time then.
Yeah, he takes over from Herb Trimpe.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine that's why I quit the. I was not a Herb Trimpe fan back then.
Those stories were written by Ed Hannigan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was nothing to keep. For some reason, and I have no idea if this is true or not. I remember '87 being the last issue of Defenders I bought. I have no idea what's in that issue. I have no idea why '87 is in my mind after all these years. But for some reason, I think I bought the Defenders up till issue '87, but I only kept up to issue 50. So obviously, I didn't even like them that much.
Yeah,
But in those days, you could buy most Marvel books, and it didn't cost you an arm and a leg.
Mm-hmm. So I suppose those were the most chaotic issues. What it not being a steady membership.
Yeah. And I think the creative team was changing a bit. It wasn't a steady creative team.
No, yeah, I see here. Ed Hannigan wrote he wrote about a year of stories, but he didn't write every issue. There was
right.
There were
and there was
fill-ins.
also I was a huge Omega the Unknown fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wrapped up the story in I forget which random issue of the Defenders it was, and it was just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It just left such a bad. Being a fan of the Omega the Unknown book by what's his name, Gerber, was that Gerber?
Yep.
And Mary Screen, did he have a writing partner on that one? Jim Mooney. Being a fan of that book, it just left such a bad taste in my mouth the way they wrap. I'm like, why? Why did they bother wrapping it up if it was going to be this terrible?
Yeah, I suppose somebody wanted, and it probably was Mark Grunwald because he was the one who couldn't leave any plot holes being left unanswered.
Looks like Wilson's connection is too unstable. Can barely get YouTube to work. Restart that router.
But Stephen Grant, when he had a column in Comic Book Resources, he mentioned that, he knows that it's not his best work. Mm-hmm. He had no idea he winged it.
Yeah. Everybody wings it just about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you did tell, you need to wrap up this storyline from the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
What happens? Well, I suppose I can kill everyone.
I'm not a superstar. If that's what you want me to do, that's what I'll do.
Yeah, of course. It's that thing about Marvel treating children characters.
Yeah.
Because it's always tragic. And okay? I understand that Stephen Grant. Okay, I'll just wing it.
Mm-hmm.
That I understand.
Right.
But how do I wing it? Well, let's make sure that a 12-year-old explodes. Yeah, no, okay, no.
I'll still never forget
in a code-approved comic.
Michael Higgins, who longtime letterer, was an editor at Marvel at one time, also a writer, and I think he was writing, what was it, Power Pack.
Yeah.
And he was the one who turned one of the Power Pack kids into a horse.
Yep.
I remember him telling me about it. He was like, people say, write what you know. I write what I don't know. So I turned him into a horse. Like, there may have been drugs involved.
But yeah, I think everybody nobody but Wheezy had an understanding of what the team was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Uh, and okay, then because then everybody wants to do the usual thing. Well, they're part of the Marvel universe, so let's have them
Right.
fight super villains that they shouldn't be fighting. And Wolverine shows up because it's Wolverine.
They didn't know
And
what to
let's turn the kid into a horse. Why not?
But there are people like Greg Schiegel, who's made an appearance on here once, I think, who Power Pack is like one of his favorite comics from his childhood.
Yeah.
He loves Power Pack. I'm like, all right. Some comic is always somebody's favorite.
Mm-hmm. But I like Power Pack too. I mean, Power Pack moved from one anthology to another. Mary Wilshire's art got better, even though it got simpler. It got better because the storytelling was better, and she was clearly trying to make sure that it didn't look like the other Marvel comics, which is, I suppose, one of the reasons that most people would stay away from it.
Yeah. I'm yawning a lot tonight. I must be sleepy. That and I think I got my allergies are making my head a little stuffy. But yeah, I think I read at least a dozen issues of Power Pack before giving up on it. And I didn't think it was terrible or anything. It just wasn't for me. And that, that was the time when I was giving up on all Marvel and DC comics. So probably not that unusual that I stopped buying it. Let's see. Googled for Perlin, as I couldn't remember much about him. Not the fanciest line, but top-notch composition, and sure enjoyed to draw horses. Yeah, he was. I think his best work was the '90s Valiant stuff when he had a whole bunch of fancy inkers over him. Other than that, he was that breed of 50s artist who I think was better at other genres, but only superheroes were left. So he did superheroes, and they weren't the most exciting superheroes.
Yeah, but when he was doing Ghost Rider, most of the stories were set in around Arizona and Nevada. So it was probably out in the desert in biker bars. And the only thing that seemed out of place was the guy with the flaming skull. but I know that he drew horses there because he had to have one storyline with the Phantom Rider, the Ghost Rider.
Yep.
So he got to draw horses there again, I suppose.
Did they rename him the Knight Rider?
For a while, yeah. They for the reprints. In the '70s, they reprinted the original Ghost Rider stories in Knight Rider because you remember at the time Marvel did not want the same character, no matter how minor, to have the same name as another character, no matter how minor.
Yeah. And now it's like everybody's got the same.
It's 20. but they reprinted the original Ghost Rider as Knight Rider. They reprinted a lot of their old Western stuff during the '70s.
Sleep Reader says, I think Power Pack reads well now. Reread some a couple of years ago. Yeah.
It always has. But
like I said, I didn't read that much of it.
Yeah, and in the Avengers story, where they go back in time to fight Kang.
Oh, that's right. Some early George Perez.
Yeah, and he's Knight Rider there as well.
And Hawkeye without his mask.
Yeah, but then Knight Rider is a TV show about a Pontiac Trans Am that speaks, and and his human sidekick, David Hasselhoff. So now he's Phantom Rider.
That's why I didn't even really think of that. I just remember he painted his horse with glow in the dark paint.
Yeah.
62 Lefty Blues says, I used to have those Knight Rider comics. Now I wish I kept them. Yeah, I used to have them too. I might still have them. I don't even know. Let me see if they're in my database, because if I still have them, and I've never seen them in years. They're in some box somewhere, but I could have gotten rid of them over the years too.
Dick Ayer's best work at Marvel in the '60s is in the Westerns.
I got a lot of M's. Night Streets, Night Music, Night Force, Night Fever, Nightmares, Nightwing. Nope, I must have got rid of my Night Riders. They're not in my database.
Well, you can buy them again, and when you have all 6, the original Ghost Rider ran for 7 issues in the 60s, but they only reprinted 6 issues. But when you buy them again, you can bind them. You do have a full Knight Rider collection.
I added, as I mentioned last week, to my Misfit CGC collection with Crossfire #1.
Yay.
9.4. All in with shipping and taxes. This one was $28.
Okay.
And I already have it unslabbed. I just got this as a curiosity. But guess how many issues off the top of your head of Crossfire #1 are slabbed? I checked the census.
1?
6.
Why?
There are 2 9.8s, 2 9.6s. This is the only 9.4, and like a 6.0.
Okay.
Like that guy must have been really disappointed sending in a 6.0 Crossfire #1.
Look, a 6.0, you can tell that it's not new.
Mark Evanier and Dan Spiegel. Dan Spiegel did some nice work on this. He's another guy I always found a little stiff, but he could draw real well. I don't know if you know his work at all. Some good, solid stuff. Another one of these. I think he started in the 50s. I think he was good professional friends with Mark Evanier too. Hence but this one also had, I remember in it, the series itself, which I still have, had some. I used to love reading the editorials by Mark Evanier because they were all about his writing and him writing in Hollywood. So they're all sort of his Hollywood stories, so that they're entertaining, especially. They're kind of like his blog is today, except in comic book form in the 80s. But this also brought me to wonder. I was trying to figure out unslab it and sell it for $1. I think I could get $5 for it, mister. Is Paulo the champion of artists who were unpopular in the 70s?
Why not?
Then he should know who Dan Spiegel is.
But I'm not familiar with Spiegel's work. I think he did more stuff at DC, right? So
I don't even know. He worked with Mark Evanier on Blackhawks with DC. I don't even know how much he worked for Marvel and DC. Low slab odd comics. Might people sending in their childhood copy? Yeah, so they can put it on a wall and not worry about getting beat. That must be what the 6.0 one was. There's some good Spiegel and some real undercooked Spiegel. Yeah. Most of this, I'd call most of this Crossfire good Spiegel. Jared, you're certified insane for buying that slab. You know what? I love the Misfit slabs. That's all I have. For $28, I'll put this Misfit slab in my collection. Spiegel did gold key work. Okay.
Yeah. That I heard. Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at Bloodshot #1 in the Grand Comics database. He was inked by Bob Wyacek on that one.
Okay.
So that should look good.
Yeah, Bob's a very good inker. But though this also, I was trying to find a key to what the labels meant on CGC books, but all I could find was the key to what the colors mean. Because it says Crossfire #1, Eclipse 598. And I was like, does that mean this book was, because this book is from 1984. It ain't from 1998. So I was like, does that mean this was slabbed in 1998? But then on the back, there's a copyright 2006 CGC on the label. So I'm like, okay.
They have no idea what they're doing.
I think that's it. Because looking, I only found like one place. They're like, oh, that's when the book was published. I'm like, no, it's not. This book was not published in 1998. I thought, looking at some other ones, it was when the book was slabbed. But I doubt this was slabbed in 98 because it's got a 2006 label on it. And it definitely wasn't printed in 98. So I'm like, what are they just, can they just not read the indicia in the comic? Don't get me wrong, I have that Crossfire in my collection, but slabbed, man. Oh, I know what I just happened to run into it. And it was, like I said, it was $28 all in, shipping and tax included. So I was like, you know what? For $28, I'll get it as a conversation piece. I believe I paid 50 cents for it. Oh, I paid $1.50 for it originally. I bought all Crossfire was on my pull list in the 80s. So I got all those Crossfires at cover price. Though I think I did have to fill some of them in. I missed a few issues. So I had to fill some of them in with mycomicshop.com once it opened. CGC, it's all made up as they go. Yeah. Like I said, I have no idea why it says Eclipse 598 when this book had been around for 15 years by that point.
There's another Bloodshot cover here that looks great. Perlin inked by Kevin Nolan.
Oh, wow. Like I said, he got all good inkers on himself in the in Valiant. So I think that's why his stuff looks especially good, because they make it look like the 90s modern piece.
Yeah, there are a couple of covers where it's inked by Chris Ivy, and you notice the old style under Ivy.
Chris Ivy was really young then too, I think.
Yeah,
he must have been in his early 20s. So
yeah, so I suppose I'm not gonna ruin the old guy's artwork. Not that it looks bad
back then was horrible.
Yeah, but not that it looks bad. But the other ones, the Wyachek and the Nolan, you can tell the Wyachek and the Nolan, and Chris Ivy. You notice the 50s artwork underneath.
Wyachek was one of the best craftsman inkers. I mean, I'm friends with him, so I got to see him. Well, when he would ink a piece, he would figure out what he was going to do. He'd he'd pull out like other pieces for inspiration. He's like, oh, I want to go for a look from from so-and-so, from this issue over so-and-so. That's the kind of look I want to go for with that. It's like, I and most inkers can only ink like ourselves. Like, if you were to give me a piece to ink, it would be a Jared piece. Bob could look at the piece and pick from all different things. Like, of course it would look like him, but he'd go, oh, I want to use a little bit of Ralph Reese here, and I want to use a little bit of him here. And it's like, he tells a story like, well, he inked Paul Smith on the X-Men. You remember that? Yeah. And Paul Smith wanted to go for a particular look. So he and Paul Smith kind of worked together to get the particular inking style that Paul wanted on that X-Men, which doesn't happen that often. And doesn't happen unless you have a craftsman like Bob.
Yeah. And it doesn't look like what he was doing when he was inking Cockrum on his second stint.
Yeah, yeah. Completely different look. And Bob could do that.
Or Burning Alpha Flight. So it looks completely different. Wyachek does a great job. He doesn't enhance Burn in Alpha Flight.
Right.
But he makes it realistic, which is good because Alpha Flight is also not about the big fight scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wyachek seemed a more subtle inker in my memory. Yeah, had a style but didn't feel heavy-handed. Right. Because he could do anything. It's like Terry Austin inks like Terry Austin. And one of the reasons is he always uses a technical pen. Bob would use whatever tool was necessary for him to get the style he wanted. He used mostly a pen, the classic, what is it, Hunt 102 Inker's pen. But he could use a brush, a pen, whatever. So, but it was, like I said, he was much more of a craftsman than most inkers. And I say was because he can't see anymore. So he can't ink.
No disability pension. Or does he?
What was that?
Does he have any disability pension?
I don't think so. You don't get disability as a freelancer.
Yeah. Well, here it wouldn't be a problem. He would be able to retire earlier. How old is he now?
He might be getting on 65 now, I think.
Okay. Okay, yeah, here he would be able to retire earlier. And he would get a disability pension on top of his regular retirement pension.
Right. He'll. I think at 65 he can start collecting Social Security, and he can also. His wife Anne died a few years ago.
Oh.
I think he can collect her Social Security, which isn't, Social Security isn't a ton of money.
Yep.
Yeah. Losing eyesight seems the cruelest thing for artists. It does. It's not pleasant. The sad truth, most artists go blind. Probably a lot of them do. He had, what was it? It's macular degeneration, which is the reason most people go blind with age. That's the reason. But some unslabbed back issues I got this week. I bought an old, as I was looking on, I think if you're legally blind, you can get some disability in the U.S. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Not being legally blind. But as I was looking on eBay for whatever I was looking, I think it was when I was looking for the art slabs, I ran into an old issue of Flash that was slabbed. But I was like, oh, I love that cover. I want to get that cover. But I didn't want a slabbed version. The slabbed version was only like $45 or something like that. But what I do sometimes with covers I like is I scan them in and I print them out at 11 by 17 and just, hang it up for a little while. Just because I can. It's not hard for me to scan something in, blow it up, and print it out big. So I said, I really love this Flash cover. And I'd forgotten about it. I'm not a Flash fan. So I don't think about Flash very often. And it's a Carmen Infantino cover. Not a huge Carmen Infantino fan. So I don't think about Carmen Infantino that often. Brendan McCarthy is losing his sight too. Okay. But he's English, so he has universal health care. So this is Flash 159. Let me break it out of its shiny bag. I don't know if you've ever seen this cover before, but I just love this cover. It's the Go-Go Checks cover. I just love all the typography on it is great. That Flash sign there, the caption, a little bit more typography down here. I just love the Flash putting on his hat and walking away. And even the yellow boots have that gray on them that they could only do on covers in the 60s at DC. So even those boots are made a little sadder looking by the gray on them. They're not, bright yellow. So I just, and this cover is in good shape. Pretty sharp spine, pretty sharp corners. There's only a little bit of scuffing over here on the spine with a couple of ticks. So it'd be good to scan in. I won't have to touch it up much, if at all. But what's funny was I was, like I was looking for this, and it usually it was going on eBay from anywhere between $10 to $25. But the copies were pretty crappy. I mean, for $10 to $25, they were a lot worse shape than this. Even the one that was like $45 slabbed was a 6.0. I'd say this cover is an 8.0. And so this actually came paired with this Flash 157, which I don't really have much interest in. But this was the best copy I could find of this. And together, these two, with shipping and tax, were $22. And I think they were up there too. It was like a buy it now. There weren't a lot of good photographs of them. It was just like two bad not very good photos that I, of course, blew up and looked at a little bit. And I was like, you know what? And all the like 5.0 copies were $25. I'm like, you know what? For $22 for the two of them, and this one is like a 5.0. This is mid-grade at best. It's not nearly as good a shape as this one. But got the pair of them for $22 was like, all right, I'll take that. Let's see, what do we got here? Yeah, nice image. Yeah, that's a good cover. One can do a collection of covers where the hero leaves the uniforms and walk away. Yeah, great. I think who was I talking to about this? I was talking to someone about this recently, and we were wondering if this came before the Spider-Man walking away from his costume or not.
That's issue what?
159.
Flash 159.
And was it Spider-Man 50 where he was walking away from his costume?
So that's March 66 cover. And Amazing Spider-Man 50. July 67, yeah, over a year before.
So this was before that Spider-Man one. I like it. It's just terrifically done. I just really, I even, the go-go this has got good design, good drawing, good storytelling, and even good typography. I mean, there's a lot of good typography in this one. So I was like, you know what? I want that. For $22, I was able to get it. Not bad. But it's like I'd completely, if I hadn't just stumbled onto it, looking for other stuff, I've completely forgot it existed. But yeah, that was my, like I said, I had no interest in paying $45 for a 6.0 slabbed version because I want to scan it in. And I didn't want to pay $45 for it. That one is in better shape than the slabbed version. The EC Comics covers and the Artisan edition comes out next week. Ooh, I'm gonna have to get that. I don't know if you remember the story of. That's right, you'll remember it, Paolo, because it's the book that Chris went. Yeah, tumbled down the stairs. That's the one where I actually bought the full-size edition of that EC Covers, but I bought it off of Amazon Marketplace, and it came so damaged that I instantly returned it. It looked like someone had taken a hammer to all four corners, and I was telling the story a couple months ago on the night Chris was in, and I was like, I can't even imagine how it got that damaged. And Chris went, easy. It tumbled down the stairs. Yeah. So now that's how I picture it getting damaged every time I think about it. Tumbling down the stairs, each corner hitting a stair. The new Teen Titans number 39. Oh, that's another walk away cover.
Yeah, Dick Grayson and Wally West give up their Robin and Kid Flash identities.
X-Men 138.
138. Cyclops leaves after Jean Grey's funeral.
Right. You're right.
Rob Liefeld did copied that for the New Mutants where Sunspot leaves.
No piggyback covers. They don't get in the collection. You don't get in the collection just because you copied.
Captain America, what, 337? No, 333.
I think there's a Captain America walk-away cover. Oh, yeah. It's Steve Rogers walking away. Is that on the cover or the inside? I have it on my shelf somewhere.
Yeah, it's inside the end of issue number 332.
No, earlier than that. I'm thinking the 70s.
Oh, yeah, in the 70s. So that would be about what?
It was the Secret Empire era.
Right. So it would be around 175. Let's check. The one 176.
Maybe on the inside, I don't remember.
It's 176.
176, he's walking away?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's moving towards the camera.
Yes, he's walking towards us. Everybody else is behind him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have that one on my shelf, I believe, but I haven't seen it in a long time. I got to pull out all my Captain Americas and look at them someday. Maybe make a Captain America video.
The best Captain America covers are by Mike Zeck.
Oh, also the Hellboy by Richard Corbin Artisan collection comes out next week. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I think I have that EC cover one on my Amazon wish list, but I didn't pre-order it or anything. I didn't even know that one was coming out. The trouble with buying collections is if you just wait a year, they'll be much cheaper on Amazon. So it's kind of like I'm never in any rush to get a collection usually, unless I'm getting it from my LCS. But with Amazon, you're always taking a chance on condition. Mm-hmm. One of the comics I got this week was the 12th and final issue of Dark Ride. This is the one by the Birthright guys, Joshua Williamson and Andre Bresson. I finally got his name right after only reading, 60 issues of this team.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call him Luke.
You're thinking of Luc Besson.
Yes. But this is the one that was about the haunted theme park where the father, decades ago made a deal with the devil to make his horror theme park successful. Then we flash forward, 25 years, and his grown children are trying to take over the park, but he's not giving it to them. And it turns out they were the price that he paid the devil. And it doesn't wrap up spectacular. It wraps up about how you'd think it would wrap up. So it wasn't, I've enjoyed the series. But there was nothing, the wrap up wasn't spectacular. It was just solid. It was, I imagine somebody who buys this in the trade paperback, the whole thing, is going to sit down and have a good read with it because it was nice. I like their work. I think Birthright was better, but Birthright went on for 50 something issues, I think. So it had a lot more time to build.
That looks like a Dan Burton cover.
Who?
Almost. Dan Burton.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Not a bad cover, too, because one of the things, I think Sleepy agreed with me when I would talk about Birthright all the time. I like this guy's artwork, but he never did good cover. The covers on Birthright were always just kind of meh. But the inside was fine. His storytelling was good. But the covers were meh. This is actually a pretty good cover, but I can see what you mean when you say Dan Brereton. Maybe it's the horror aspect. Maybe it's the lighting.
The demon girl. She looks like a Brereton character.
Okay, yeah. I can see that. RRP Roger Corman. Yeah, I was never a Roger Corman fan, so I don't have much to say about him. Captain
I
America
was,
switched to the Nomad costume at 178.
yeah.
That's why he walked away in 177. In stock
You know,
trades is the way to go. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm okay with in stock. If you're going to in stock trades, though, don't you have to buy I've used a lot of trades in order to get the free shipping or something like that. I just usually buy them. The reason that Amazon is the way for me to go is because I can also put things on my Amazon wish list that my family can get me for birthdays and Christmas. Yes, agreed about those birthright covers. I thought you did at the time. I can remember us talking about that.
We have a. It's not a convention. It's mostly an exhibit, but we have a comics event in 2 weeks' time.
Okay.
Or is it? No, it's in 3 weeks' time. No American guests, but Howler Mouse's favorite, Jacques Tardy, is coming. So I'm not going to be able to go there. But if Mind the Comics goes, he can record Tardy's conference, Tardy's panel.
No.
And there's one guy that I wish was better known in the English-speaking world, because he is also coming. He usually comes here a lot because he's from northern Spain. Miguel Ancho Prado, who is the Latin version of Kafka.
Huh.
So he's actually funny.
You know what I just put on my Amazon wish list? I don't think it comes out till September. Is I took a screenshot of a name you gave me during one of the shows like a month ago. And I was just like, oh, I remember. And I was like, oh, I remember this. I don't remember why I wanted to remember this name. So I looked him up on Amazon, and it was The Road adaptation.
Yeah.
The guy who's drawing that. I was like, oh, that's what we were talking about. I'll put that on my wish list. What's the artist's name?
Manu Larsenet.
There we go. I was like, oh, I remember taking the screenshot. I wanted to look this guy up.
The thing is, he comes from more.
Mind the Comics. It says he's a hermit.
Yeah. Just take the misses and say, well, we're going to eat some Alentejo food. You'll know what I mean.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to the New York Comic Con this year. Because I just filled out the form to get the professional badge. Which I'm going to get as an educator. I'm sure I could also get it as a bad idea guy, but it's easier to get it as an educator. I don't know how much. You still have to pay for the ticket. They don't let you in free, but I haven't been to New York Comic Con since like 2017.
Right.
So I think it costs like the professional ticket is like $120 for the 4 days.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive.
Either you're a professional or you're not a professional.
Professional homebody. Says 62 Lefty Blues. I'm that most of the time, but actually tomorrow I'm going to go to a makers fair. Which near here there's only within a couple miles actually I can walk there. The Garner Arts Center, which is an old factory that years ago they turned into artist studios, and they also have like art festivals and fairs there. And I'm like, I really should go there more often because it's literally within walking distance. But I just haven't. But I just happened to catch that tomorrow there's going to be a makers fair there. I'm like, all right, I'm going. I can just walk there. I can get, it's about a 20-minute walk, which to me is walking distance. Cut through the schoolyard.
and through the basketball court.
Yeah, matter of fact, I'm going through a basketball court. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah,
Let's see what else.
I'm looking at Manu Larsen's page on BD Tech because the things he's doing now, they have nothing to do with the things he used to do 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Larsenet is part of a group of artists who come from a magazine called Fluide Glacial.
Mm-hmm.
And Fluide Glacial is a humor magazine for adults.
Right.
For adults. And so he's used to doing he used to have a more cartoony style. And one of his most famous works was as artist in a comic called The Cosmonauts of the Future. And the evolution is taken in the last few years. It's like a totally different artist. It's not something that you usually see with the Americans. I'm trying to think of somebody who could do something, two styles completely different across 20 years, and it's not easy.
David Mazzucchelli.
Yeah, Mazzucchelli's one because he disappeared and he came back. Yeah, most of the guys who did superheroes, even if they stopped doing superheroes, they never veered too far off from.
My walk isn't quite uphill both ways. Craft and makers fairs and walking distance are the best. Yeah. I'm confused at what counts as a maker. I don't know. I'll have to report back after tomorrow. There's some open studios, and I don't know what else is going to be there. But that's actually where I went. God, when was it? Pre-COVID. They had they had a Denny O'Neil tribute night there. I think because Denny O'Neil lived in Rockland County here in Nyack, New York. So my friend, I didn't even know it was my friend Ed, was like, "Hey, you want to go to the Denny O'Neil tribute that's right near you?" I'm like, "Okay." So we ended up going over there, and they had a tribute to Denny O'Neil. He talked, and that sort of thing. I was like, "Oh, okay." Only one of those I've been to. But like I said, I think that was because he's local, but I never knew that.
If you had known that, would you have tried to meet up with him?
Probably not, but I'm like, Ed would have. My friend Ed would. He finds out someone's nearby. He's going to meet up with them. Matter of fact, he just met up with Ralph Reese.
Oh.
Because Ed thinks he insulted him too. Matter of fact, he knows he insulted him again. Ralph Reese lives up near Cape Cod. Ed has a sister who lives in Cape Cod. Ed was visiting his sister, so he's like, "Oh, let me email Ralph Reese, see if I can meet him." That's what Ed, like I said, Ed, I'm not like that for whatever reason. I'm always like, I don't want to bother the person. Ed's like, I want to go meet him. So Ed met him, and Ed said he got. It's like Ralph Reese. Said Ralph Reese. The comic industry hasn't exactly been kind to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a rich man.
Right.
So at some point, Ed was like, "Well, there's a what's that? That organization that helps out comic artists." Flew right out of my head.
Not the comic book legal defense fund, the other one.
Yeah, the one that everybody's always doing auctions for. But anyway, Ed was like, "Oh, those guys, they help out comic artists." And Ralph looked at him and went, "Is that what you think of me?" Heroes Foundation. Yeah, that's it. Never meet your heroes type. Yeah, that's what I have to say. When I was at Marvel, I was definitely a never meet your heroes type. And so was a lot of other people there. Because we met a lot of comic artists, and a lot of them were not the nicest, not the nicest people of all.
Mhm.
So a lot of times we're like, we don't really have to meet them. But that's why when I hear all these people getting upset on the internet that comic book creators aren't being nice to them on Twitter, I'm like, dude, they wouldn't be nice to you in real life either, okay?
Well, they might be nicer on real life because
They
it's in
might.
real life. Yeah,
But
but
there's a lot of jerks out there, and there's a lot of
sure.
jerks for comic fans.
Yeah,
Let's see.
but
Tit Goblin says, "Maker as a term changes with geography and fair organizers. I'm considered a working full-time professional craftsperson because I'm in crafts councils, juried events. Other places I would be a maker." Ah, okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about this. This will be the first makers fair I'm going to, so
Mhm.
I'll have to check it out. I have been to the Garner Arts Center is there's this one like I've been to their open studios. It must have been a decade since I've been there. And like their open studios were cool. A whole bunch of artist studios you can walk through. About what you'd think artist studios in an old factory looks like. But then there was this one other building that there was a guy who was an artist but also owned a business, and his business was cabinetry. So, he made cabinets for kitchens and such things, woodworking stuff. And he was quite successful at it. Hence, he had a whole building there. He had the building that he worked out of. Then the other half of the building, he turned it into a museum where he put on shows, which is why I don't know why I don't go there and look at the shows, but I haven't seen one in a while. But the museum he built, being that he was a cabinetry guy, he was a woodworker, looked as nice as any museum you've ever been in. Like it looked as nice as MoMA. It looked as nice as the Whitney. It looked as nice as anything you've ever seen in a museum. And it's in a factory in the Garner Arts Center because that was his job. Woodworking. I mean, it was crazy how nice it is. You would not expect to see that. Yeah, it's a two-way street meeting here. Yeah. People on Twitter, definitely. They're nicer when you're in line buying a signature. No doubt. So are the people in line buying a signature. They're much nicer. The guy bashing the guy on Twitter the day before is going to be nice online looking for a signature. Neil Adams sums that up. Yeah. Jared, have you ever considered studio space since it's walking distance as well as a social work setting? Yeah, I don't want to pay for studio space. That's all it is. I don't have the money for that. So,
I
but
understand. I
I
understand charging for a signature because a lot of people just want something to sell on eBay. But
right,
I suppose what I would do in that situation is $5 for a signature. Free dedication is free
right.
because I'm personalizing the book to you.
There was also people also like I can remember. I was at a con with Bob Wyacek. What's the name of that one? Maybe the one in the New York, not the one of the ones that was in the Penn across from. There's a hotel across from Penn Station. It's gone under many names over the years. There've been comic book conventions in it over the decades. It was one of those. I can't remember the name of it. But it was probably like once again 2018 or so. It was when Bob was first started charging for autographs, and one of the reasons was people wanted to give him money. People were paying for other people's autographs, and they were like, and they wanted to help him out, and they wanted to give him $5 for an. They didn't want it for free. Some of them, they're like, no, I want to pay you for your autograph. And he's like, oh, okay.
Okay, give me money. Well,
And,
at least if you feel awkward about taking money for an autograph, put in a tip jar.
right. Right. I think eventually someone gave him a jar, that con, to be a tip jar.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to give him money. Because
Mhm.
they were giving other people money and they wanted to help him out. He wasn't the most busy artist at that time. They knew that.
Yeah.
So like, you know what? We love your work. We want to autograph on your work. We want to give you money. So eventually he was like, all right.
Yeah, I wonder what Steranko does when it comes to Europe, because we do not like the idea that we have to pay for an autograph. We already bought your book.
Huh.
That means we already gave you money.
Yeah.
Oh, I just remembered something that I saw yesterday.
One other thing, Tit Goblin. I'm also antisocial enough not to be in a studio. Speaking of guys in studios, here's Chris Geruso.
I thought you were going to say, speaking of antisocial.
I could have gone with that, but I decided not to.
You have a studio, mate. You don't count as antisocial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, Jared.
Take that.
What if two antisocial people get together in the same studio and don't talk to each other? Does that count as antisocial or not?
I don't know. What were you about to say, Paolo?
But yeah, I wonder what Steranko does when it comes to Europe, because we don't. But
right.
I just saw something yesterday. So there's this guy called Matthew Roybal.
Okay.
He's one of the guys from the who collect foreign editions of American comics, and he became Facebook friends with Howard Chaykin the other day.
Okay.
Chaykin still does that. He probably should stop. And Matt thought he was being nice when he showed. I did a collection. I have a collection of all of these Star Wars #1s from a lot of the countries, and I thought you might find this nice. And
Chaykin hates Star Wars #1.
Yeah.
Why?
Because he had to rush it out. Didn't do a very good job with it, he thinks, and it's haunted him ever since then.
And it gets reprinted. Gets reprinted several times in multiple countries, and it gets $0 from it.
Right. And matter of fact, that con I was at with, I was just telling you, with Bob when he started getting money for autographs, was the one time I met Howard Chaykin, because he had the table next to Bob, so I got to talk to Chaykin all day.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bacon. Let's see. Sleepy Reader says, I should start a Fakers Fair for people like me who dabble with something creative once or twice a year. I talk about it a lot. No, Fakers Fair is Etsy. From what I understand, they changed the rules in Etsy where things don't have to be handmade anymore. They changed their definition of handmade. So Etsy has been flooded with cheap knockoff goods. And the people who actually used to make stuff can't get any traction anymore.
So we can finally go to...
That's it. It's the Big Apple Comic Con was the one in that.
So we can finally go to Etsy and buy you that It Is What It Is shirt that you wanted, right?
Right. At Penn, I don't. Is it still? I think they changed names. It's not Penn Plaza anymore. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's something else now. But yeah, it was Penn Plaza for decades.
Are you talking about Mike Carbonero's Comic Book Marketplace?
You know what? I actually think the one that I was at Penn Plaza was not a Mike Carbonero one. So it might not have been Big Apple Con. Might have had another name, but he was there. Because all these guys, because I happen to catch I forget which this one. Good evening, all the world's estate. I forget. So it might not have actually been a Big Apple Con, because there was like 4 or 5 con guys who put on cons, including Mike Carbonera, who puts on the Big Apple Con, all there, and they all like help each other get guests for their cons. So they were like all discussing, I think Mike Carbonera had one coming up, or something like that. So they were all like, oh yeah, we got this one, we got that one. So I don't think it was his, but I don't 100% remember. I'll have to find my badge from it, I think, which is buried somewhere.
Tomorrow. Go time.
Oh, I have to show this comic to Chris.
You don't have to go.
It's only 3 hours. I'll go. You're gonna have to get home. Got 10 pages written today. First real productive day.
Once he
on what?
Stops talking off camera. See that? This is why he's in the studio, so he can talk to
Hey,
people.
check this out.
I believe GTSY is a greeting.
Mountains.
But I got a I picked this up. Monolith, not the Jimmy Palmiotti monolith. There's the Todd McFarlane cover. Show you a little of the inside.
Yeah,
There's like Monolith Spawn is who this guy is. Some pretty nice artwork inside. Where's our
switched it up here.
Our creators are Sean Lewis, plot and script, and Valerio Giordano. That's like Dick Giordano with an extra
I didn't notice it.
G in front of it.
The silhouette. I was making fun of you for
Oh,
not
no,
changing it.
I really
You actually
did.
yeah.
Yeah, the shape of the helmet's different.
And this one, it's only a 3-issue mini, and it was only $3. So I'm like, you know what? I flipped through it and liked the art.
dude.
Thanks, man.
I said, you know what? I'll give this one a read just for the heck of it. But
Master.
this is the, and also see how here it says New You?
Yeah.
I guess that's the new Spawn universe,
they came out
not
with that.
2099 Spawn. I don't want to get Chris riled up,
In their series.
Game 6.
but this one takes
They could go
place
3-2. They could clinch tonight.
3030 AD. So I guess it's 3030. And Monolith
They're tied
Spawn
3-3 now.
is the only Spawn
play?
left.
Sunday.
And he's doing something, trying to fight. Who's the other Spawn? He was.
A lot of people.
Might
can
be
get
tomorrow.
fucked.
Might be tomorrow.
Where is he?
A lot of people gonna get fucked huge for that.
Omega. Pardon me. Omega Spawn. So there's two of
Eyeballs
them
glued.
left. And Omega
Is it ready
Spawn
yet?
is trying to conquer the universe. Where'd he go? That's Omega Spawn.
Right. Okay.
And they end up on some prison planet. Hold on. Now I can explain this to Chris. Look at this, Chris.
New you?
New You. It's Spawn New You, not Spawn 2099. So don't you go calling that anymore.
I thought it was.
Spawn 3030.
I thought it was Rat City was what they were calling.
That's the other
2099.
one. I think that he's coming out with a whole new line of books.
Well, yeah, but I thought the one everybody was saying was 2099 was the
Yes.
one called Rat City.
Right, but I think that's also a New You book. So this is another New You book.
Oh, so the new you is 2099.
Right.
Okay.
No, don't call it 2099. You don't appreciate that because it's not 2099. It's 3030.
I can't remember
AD.
I can't remember the bit that I was doing.
I know. You were calling everything 2099 after a while. That was the bit. Let's see. Sleepy says, I read but didn't understand Monolith. Looked very heavy metal. My answer to that was, what is there to understand? Takes place in the future. A couple of spawns fight each other on a prison planet. Whatever. I think you're reading too much into it. I don't think there's anything to understand in this comic except they're fighting in the future. They explained it as, he's the last. Oh, they also explained that this took place in a universe where the spawns all got together to defeat this galaxy-wide villain or something like that, and they lost. So then, since they lost, everybody hated spawns and hunted down all the spawns and killed them.
That makes sense.
Yes, perfect sense.
Well, why didn't those people stop the bad guy if they're stronger than spawns?
I don't.
Yeah.
I cannot explain that to you. Maybe that's what
Yeah.
Sleepy didn't understand, but I think he's trying to understand the ununderstandable.
Yeah.
I
You know
just
what would be
accepted
funnier?
all at face value.
If all of the spawns got together and started cutting each other's heads off, and there could be only one.
Well, that's what Omega Spawn is doing for some reason.
It's cutting
He
off the heads
somehow
of
wants to
the.
kill Monolith Spawn so he can be the last Spawn and conquer the universe. Oh, that's I think Omega Spawn killed a lot of the spawns too because they were giving the universe hope.
Hope.
Comic book writers think universe is a fairly compact place. Yeah, I can't even remember if this said galaxy universe or what. It was just like way too big, whatever it was. Let's see. See if I can find the exact word that yes. See, in these end times, the spawns were called upon to save this universe. But they all failed, causing a blanket of hatred for their kind. In this future, it is the spawns against everyone else. Let's see, Ramos. I picked up Road to Resurgence, Valiant Universe, Exo Man of War, and the Valiants. Haven't read them yet, but interested in what the new Valiant is like. Yeah, I passed on them for no reason. Just, I read the last Valiant relaunch. That was enough. I guess $2.99 doesn't buy a rational story. Not in the Spawn universe. If you're picking up something in that Spawn universe and expecting rationality, I think you're always going to be disappointed. Yeah. Who is Alien Publishing? I don't even I know there are I think like some like what's her name? Lisa Hawkins is still there, I think. But I don't exactly know who Alien Publishing is. And I think they're just like distributing the Valiant books. I don't know how that's structured. 62 Lefty Loose says there's a new Spawn 5-issue series coming that's called Spawn Kills Every Spawn in July. Axis 23 Ramos Comics agreed. I hope it's worth it after being dormant for years. Yeah. Alien is from Argentina. Well, that's right. I think. Were you mentioning that, Sleepy? I was watching.
Yeah.
It must have been on his that I was watching that he mentioned he was interested in seeing what this company from.
I'm not sure Alien is from Argentina. The writer's from California, and the artist is from Argentina, but he lives in Australia.
They have licensed Valiant or doing it all themselves. Okay.
Which is a good idea. I want to do that to Marvel. I'll give them $5 and they'll give me all the characters.
Because on the earlier Valiant Alien books that I picked up, Lisa Hawkins was still listed as editor. So I don't know if she still is. So Wilson, look in your Valiant books and see if Lisa is listed as editor. They have an office of 3 people in the U.S. and 18 in Argentina. Okay.
Okay. Oh, nice. But the artist lives in Australia, so they didn't in his web. Where an Argentinian guy moved to Australia. Usually they move to Spain because it's easier to get it into France from Spain.
And speaking of Spawn, I also got Spawn 353. I call this cover Spawn Dances. Because he looks like he's dancing.
Dances with spawns.
Dancing.
I think he's triple jumping.
Some Brett Booth artwork that was pretty solid. I think it was better than the last issue of Brett Booth artwork.
Yeah, I like Brett Booth.
I generally like Brett Booth too, but issue 350 with Brett Booth and Carlos Barberi was really, really nice. Issue 351 with Brett Booth and who else is doing this? Inks by Adelesso Corona and Danielle Heracles. I don't know who inked like the last 2. I didn't think the inking was as strong. But this one seemed stronger. which reminds me, but in this, oh yeah, once again, I the story is all the angels and demons on Earth after the big war have been depowered. So the vampires on Earth are going around and killing all the demons and angels. Meanwhile, Spawn, who's also depowered, is looking for his buddy. What's his buddy's name? Eddie Frank, the Redeemer. I'm glad they recapped it, because Eddie Frank, the Redeemer, was an angel, and he was one of the most beloved, powerful angels out there. Then he got bit by a vampire and became a vampire angel. But then somehow got the vampire part of himself under control, so he became a good angel again. But with the all the angels and demons being depowered, now he's a vampire angel again. So he's got his vampire part took over. So he joined the other vampires in killing everybody. Now what I always find amazing is Spawn is out there, and Spawn's looking for a cure for vampirism so he can save his friend. And he won't fight or kill his friend. He's like, no, I don't want to. Meanwhile, he's killing every other vampire out there. I'm like, they're not someone's friend? You're perfectly okay killing every single vampire you run into, except this one, because he's your buddy. I always found that morality a little suspect. Why aren't you trying to cure all of them? Just your buddy you want to cure. But other than that little point, it was a good issue. Dancing Spawn. Dancing. Woo, dancing. But Chris's mentioning of inking flashed me back to one thing I wanted to mention this week. I can't remember what Marvel comic it was. I just picked up and flipped through it. And I guess Marvel has an ad in this month's comics. See if Wilson has it in one of his. For the Marvel Online School. Where I guess they teach you how to do comics. And they had a bunch of word balloons that taught you how to do comics. But the top word balloon was all about inking. And they were like, oh, you want to put bold lines on the outside of your figure to make it move forward a little, da-da-da. And they're giving inking advice. Unfortunately, the comic it was in wasn't inked and followed none of that advice. I was just like, holy cow.
This is a new comic or something old?
Brand new this week.
What was the comic?
It was a random Marvel comic I happened to pick up. So it must be the ad in this month's Marvel comic.
Was it digitally painted or something?
Yeah. Plenty of comics these days aren't inked. But this one didn't even have the penciler doing thicker lines to bring something forward. That was just funny to see.
Was I talking about inking?
You just mentioned inking just before I talked about Spawn. You didn't talk about it. You just said inking. She is still listed as editor, so Lisa Hawkins is still listed. Thought Paolo's ideas when reading an interview with them. Thought of Paolo's ideas. Oh, when reading an interview with Alien. You didn't like the colors on the Valiant books. Okay, it's too busy. I also picked up Godzilla versus MM is, I forget which one. Power Rangers. Issue 2 and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Black, White, and Green. Spider-Man Blood Hunt 1 and the Doctor Doom one-shot. Is that ad for the Marvel School in any of those? Online school? Give it a look. But Sleepy Reader gave the TMNT Black, White, and Green a lukewarm review. Mm-hmm. But one of the first issues I got this week, another one. This is the one that 62 Lefty Blues mentioned to me last week. mugshots, which I didn't see last week, but they had a couple of copies this week, which has this really nice, stylish, Darwin Cook-ish. What's his name? Batman Adventures-ish. Oh, what's his name? His name flew out of my head. Done in duotone, a couple of different colors.
Thinking of Michael
Its
Cho?
one flaw was its crappy cover that's all warped. Even with just this cyan, this paper must have been warped to begin with, because there's not that much. This isn't really warped inside. It's just the cover that's crappy and warped. I just hate that in my comics.
Humidity.
Too much ink. But it shouldn't be too much ink with just cyan and black. I don't know
Right.
what that. Maybe it's the inside. What do we got?
Humidity.
Could be humidity too, right? But I don't see other stuff doing this.
Yes, you do.
Just this cheapo paper.
Well, yeah.
Let's see. Let's open up a Spawn, which has the cardstock paper. Maybe a little warping in Spawn. Cheapo paper inside. But I don't notice it as much with a good cover. But Mugshots was pretty good. It's a crime noir story about a girl who was kidnapped, and her uncle, who used to be a criminal in this town but kicked out for getting in trouble with the big criminal in town. He was just a minor criminal. Has to come back and see what he can figure out, because his niece had been dating the big criminal's son. Who I think they're both around 19 or 20. And it's a pretty violent book. There's the big criminal over there. Where is he? Strangling someone who dared to sell drugs, unsanctioned drugs, in his drug territory. But this is also Mad Cave Studios. So it's a Mike Martz book. Let's see. Where is he listed? What is his official editor, book design? He must be in the big Mike Martz, EVP and editor-in-chief. What's EVP? Executive Vice President? They have 1, 2, 3 graphic designers. It amazes me sometimes how big these mastheads of these small companies can be. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 people on this Mad Cave masthead. That doesn't include the creators of the comic. Like, how many copies can Mad Cave be selling to pay 29 salaries? I don't get it. Cyan saturation, says Mind the Comics. Bruce Timm, there's the name I was looking for. That ad is in the Spider-Man Blood Hunt #1. I'll have to show us it next week. Sleepy, I was really taken by Mugshots. A nice chunky story. Yeah, it was like a 36-page story, too. Image Comics #1, The Ascension, The Pit, Spawn, Various, and others. I bought over some of the great Marvel series in the 90s, like Uncanny X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, and Spider-Man. I wasn't buying many of those in the 90s. I bought some Image series, but no Marvel. So my Image collection is thumbs down. Hold on, let's get that thumbs down going. Thumbs down. Very much Darwin Cook. Nice. Yeah, definitely in that Darwin Cook, Bruce Timm school. Jeff Lemire's Fish Flies #6 has turned into supernatural horror. You never know with Jeff Lemire's what you're going to get. Comics must make a lot of money. Yeah, 29 people. That's crazy. They do, and I bet they're all done by computer. The Pit had cool art, definitely. I remember occasionally picking up an issue of the Pit, and there was not much to read in it, but had cool art. All the World's a Stage. I bought all those, says Ramos Comics. What are you working on tonight, Chris?
I'm just straightening up the office.
Straightening up the office. Did you get the latest official handbook cover done that you were working on?
I got the prelims finished.
Okay.
And then I had to switch gears and turn attention elsewhere for a little bit.
Okay.
Actually, I am in the middle of another one for the same guy.
Okay. Ah. Hulk 181, of course. Very nice. Hulk 181, of course. Very nice.
When I was like doing reference searching,
Uh-huh.
there's a poster of Hulk 181 out
Yeah.
there. And because I was like staring at this for so long, I noticed immediately. It's like, that's different.
Ah.
And it was the original Herb Trimpe
Uh-huh.
art before John Romita fixed the head.
Ah, okay.
So you see, so yeah, that's the only change I noticed. And the arrow where it says, he's here, Wolverine, like
Yep.
that's different too. I assume that's like a paste up change.
Right. Interesting.
There you go. There's your comic trivia for me for the week.
Comics trivia. All the World's a Stage. I vacuum sealed some of my comics. Huh. Tit Goblin. I guess you can have 29 people on staff if they aren't staff and only paid freelance as piece workers. Yeah, that could be it. All those 29 people probably aren't getting anything considered a living wage salary. That's probably it, because I'm listed, though there's only a few of us in Bad Idea Comics. I'm certainly not on staff and not getting that's not my only job, paid a living wage. Nope. So you're right. That could be it. They could all be freelancers just doing that when they do it. But I'll show Chris, I put a couple of my covers on comics this week just for the heck of it. Chris will recognize this technique. Where I took a couple of my Dreams of Things. I'll show you this. My Dreams of Things marker covers that I do. And on the back, I put some of my comic strips. And on the inside, some of my ink drawings. I pulled out the staples of the James Tynion Free Comic Book Day one. And
so why? What is the significance of that comic that you decided?
I just got it last week for free. I have a whole bunch of comics lying around. Matter of fact, the next one, I did this one I did two. I just kind of wanted to make my covers to comics that don't exist look like they exist. Once again, some different comic strips on the back. Some of my ink drawings on the inside covers and a Paul Azaceta Outcast. And the significance to this one is it was a 25-cent comic. So I got a bunch of them when they came out.
You're just looking for cheap filler.
Yeah.
Now, are these printed?
Yes, these are printed on my my inkjet printer.
They look glossy too.
Yeah, that's a glossy photo paper. That's a 54-pound glossy photo paper. So it's got a good. Actually, this one might be the 63 pounds. No, that's. Hold on, I think it's 54 pounds. Heavy stuff. koala, double-sided glossy paper. 54 pounds, 200 grams per square meter. So good heavy stock. That's what I like. I say I like a good heavy stock in the comics I buy. I like it in my wraparound print comic. I just felt like I haven't made any of these in a while. And I've just been setting up all of my Dreams of Things cover to make prints out of. So I said to myself, you know what? Let's wrap them around comics, which takes way too long, as you know, Chris.
Have you seen Graphic Man's pulp covers that he does? He prints.
He prints the book jackets.
Yeah, he prints the public domain pulp stories.
Oh,
and
okay.
then he goes looking for the original cover for where those pulp stories first appeared. And then he treats the image so that he can print a cover for the stories.
Right. Okay. I didn't know you. I never saw him talk about that in depth. I thought he was making covers for like books he already had where he didn't like the cover or something. But I've seen people do something like that. Oh, so he's actually printing out the story itself too.
Yep. Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, does he typeset it? Or does he print from scans of the inside?
No, I think the stories are in Project Gutenberg.
Okay, so they're
public domain stories.
Yes, but they're not. What I mean is, like for my Gatsby book, I looked for the actual text as text so I could typeset it.
Yeah.
I sound like what he's doing is there's scans like of the book, but it's not text. It's a visual image, so he's just printing out the okay.
No, so in Project Gutenberg, they're in text format.
Oh, they are in text format.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder if he is typesetting it.
Yeah. The ones he did for Edgar Rice Burroughs books, they're interesting because he's doing hardcovers. And he does the jacket design, even the spines.
Does he do the binding?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
how does he
comes up with
bind
the
them?
design. I think he does it somewhere.
Okay, he has them bound then.
Mm-hmm. But he
probably has to print them out and bring them to the bindery.
Yeah,
probably.
he designs the dust jackets for the Burroughs book. So he created his own little designs for all of the books.
Huh. Cool. I should bring those to the Maker Faire. Yeah. I bought some of the new Marvels, says All the World's a Stage. Nothing says cardstock marketing like a picture of someone kissing a dog on the lips. Ramos Comics, did you ask All the World's a Stage? Did you think it was better to buy some of the Marvels at that time? This is the 90s. I've spent $10 to $20 compared to the prices. Yeah, I was buying all my indie books in the 90s, though I did end up buying some of the Image stuff. What books were you buying in the 90s, Chris? Savage Dragon, of course.
Like I was buying a lot of stuff. Marvel, DC, Image, Savage Dragon, of course, was part of that. But that was like the era of Marvel versus DC for that.
Okay.
The one they voted on, and
right.
I was into like a lot of that,
which they're putting out in an omnibus now.
Can't believe that.
You're gonna have to get your copy.
Do I have to?
Only if you want to. You don't have to. I thought you liked it. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I did. I still have a lot of those.
Oh, okay.
I have the miniseries. I kind of made it a habit of like picking them up whenever I see them cheap.
Oh, okay.
And the amalgam books too, thinking like
Right.
they'll never reprint this again.
That's what everyone said.
No, the ridiculous. What's ridiculous is that the trade paperbacks are the old ones are much more expensive than making up a set of all of the amalgams.
Yeah, it's funny how that works sometimes. Only in like rare instances, but yeah. Sometimes it's like you can get the original JLA Avengers.
But they'll be making movies of that stuff when after Disney buys Warner Brothers.
Right.
What do you think? 5 years?
They'd do it tomorrow if they could.
Disney's not. This is not well financially because of all the hits that they've been taking with the movies failing to make profits.
I have a hard time believing all of these mega corporations are not doing well.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. I believe that their movies didn't do as well as they wanted to. But I believe they're still raking in billions of dollars.
The problem is that stock prices have been going down.
Now, that's a whole different thing.
Oh no.
Which affects their ability to get funding for the things they want to make.
Yeah, they'll get funding.
I don't know if they'll ever bounce back though.
Yeah.
maybe that's the very like how good is Warner Brothers doing?
With all the ownership changes, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
And they'd be ripe for the picking.
Oh,
Apple will buy them all.
I have a feeling that somebody's going to put an antitrust lawsuit if Disney tries to buy Warner Brothers.
That's never gonna happen.
Let's see. Wilson says, all the world's a stage. At the time, I was a Marvel zombie. So I was getting them all at the time and got those image books because it was a big deal at the time. The 90s were wild because there were so many books at Marvel, DC, Image, Valiant, Defiant, Topps, and so many publishers that came in. There was a lot of, it was the boom years. There were so many hot books that you had to get. And I didn't get any of them, but that's me. Sleepy Reader says, I thought they'd never print ROM or Micronauts. Just as I finished collecting them, the omnibuses were announced. I actually, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, sold all my Micronauts because that was one of the series. And when I needed the money and I looked at and went, what am I never, ever going to read again? And Micronauts was there and I knew, it had some value. I think I sold... How many volumes were there of Micronauts? 3? All 3 volumes of Micronauts. Everything for like $200 or $250. I think they're in France now. I think I mailed them to France. Someone in France wanted those Micronauts. I was like, all right, you can have them. That's why when I saw the Micronauts omnibuses, when my LCS, and I was like, you know what? Besides the Michael Golden covers, I would rebuy maybe the Michael Golden covers issues. But I'll get them digitally. Micronauts wasn't bad. It was just middle-of-the-road Marvel. Actually better than middle-of-the-road. It was high-end middle-of-the-road Marvel.
So would you say maybe 3/4 of the road?
Maybe. It was Micronauts were a solid B minus.
They made quite an impression on 8-year-old me.
Yeah. I liked them. Like I said, I bought every issue that ever came out of Micronauts. It's not like I didn't enjoy reading them. I just don't want to read them again. I have no particular interest in revisiting the Micronauts. ROM either. The Space Knight.
Yeah. ROM was not that I didn't like the art, but Rom had better stories than art.
Well, they had some good, solid Sal Buscema art.
Yeah,
Sal Buscema could always deliver a solid issue.
sure.
He wasn't, the most exciting.
No, he was more exciting doing the Hulk, and he was on
Yeah.
the Hulk, and he was doing the Hulk at the same time.
I was like, I'll put Sal Buscema in a notch above Don Perlin in my childhood reading. I was Sal Buscema. I wasn't. He wasn't one of the guys that got me excited like a John Byrne, but I was always, Sal Buscema comic. I'll read it. I was in for a good, solidly drawn issue. Undead Quinn. The ads are more fun in the single issues. Huh. If only Don Perlin had drawn Rom, then Paolo would have liked it.
No, I did like Rom. That's
Now
not
you're
the
missing
issue.
omnibuses. The ads.
That's not the issue. The thing is, Rom was worth it for the story. It was not a comic that you bought for the art.
It was solidly written and solidly drawn.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a solid B.
Ditko?
Ditko drew some, yeah.
Yeah, starting on 50 something, on 50 something, on 57 or 58, I think.
One of the first X-Men appearances, new X-Men appearances outside of their own book was in an issue of Rom.
Yeah, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Yeah.
Rogue was a team member. I am pretty sure because of those stories that Mantlo thought he had a chance at taking over the X-Men when Claremont quit. Of course, Claremont never did.
Good old Mantlo. Anything drawn by Sal would have solid storytelling. Exactly. IPI Comics new release in July 2020 with The Human Fly, issue number 0. Holy cow.
Really?
Someone's bringing back The Human Fly?
Okay, so Ditko's first Rom is number 59. Yeah, I remember when Ian Aiken and Brian Garvey took over inking from Joe Sinnott. Yeah, but you're used to seeing Joe Sinnott because he has his own that style he always does.
Yeah,
and then Aiken and Garvey have this more round style, make everything, and it was quite jarring. But it was perfect because Sal Buscema and Joe Sinnott would not have made the female dire wraiths.
Cue the camp song.
They would not have made the female dire wraiths look as scary. Walter designed.
Thought you meant the cramps.
Walter designed the new dire wraiths, didn't he? Because he drew that first cover where they appeared.
Did he? I don't remember.
Think so.
He may have. We'll have to ask him.
Yeah, around number 50. Let's see.
One of the new comics I got this week is issue 3 of Remender and Bengal's Napalm Lullaby. And pretty solid issue. This is the one where it was kind of what if this religious cult discovered Super Baby? Superman's ship crash landed to this religious cult parents. Flash forward 30 years, and they run the world. And this brother and sister, there they are in the back, who have some sort of vague superpowers that I can't figure out yet, wanted to take down this cult for some reason. So this issue, they had to get into this city that the cult runs, and they had their estranged father lead them in. And then the son, he had a hard time controlling himself because of all the emotions and stuff. And listen, I don't know what their powers are. Yeah, it's Rick Remender 1. Is it mid? It's Rick Remender. But They did something annoying because this whole thing was, oh, we're in the city. Oh my god! And then the Savior Superman guy showed up. There he is. Let me show you a little of the art here. Hold on. I guess this is the Savior Superman guy because this guy shows up as kind of a hologram. And he's kind of lecturing everybody, and you're getting the backstory of what's going on as he lectures everybody. But the annoying part to me was our two heroes and their father are there. And the last page is this. I guess this is like this Supergirl type character coming here. It says the janitors come to clean because they detected these heretics in the. But the annoying thing was, here they are with their father. And that woman just blasts their father dead, doesn't even announce herself from behind, blasts him dead. But I guess these two have plot.
Whoa.
And we lost Jared.
What happened to Jared?
He kicked himself out.
How embarrassing.
I got kicked out.
Oh. Did you kick yourself out?
No, it kicked me out.
No, I think you did it to yourself.
Yeah, maybe I did. I don't know. But as these two here, it's like, why didn't she just blast all three of them?
Drama?
It's like, why did she blast one of them and then talk to the other two?
She needs somebody to explain herself to?
It's just that's just like such a storytelling trope. It's like,
and now that I have killed one of you, I shall explain my master plan to the remaining.
And the only explanation they got was that last balloon. The janitor hates leaving the dome to clean. What? She's glad that they came at it. Why didn't she just blast all three of them? Plot immunity. I hate plot immunity stuff. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah, we should make sure that we can kill Superman at any time during the course of his stories.
What is plot immunity? What do you mean by plot immunity?
Plot immunity is when there's a character who's important to the plot, so they can't die. Meanwhile, everyone around them is dying rather easily.
So you need a more plausible explanation for why this character is still alive.
Right.
Or some explanation.
Especially when it's the old, the villain kills everybody but the hero. And you're like, well, why didn't you kill the hero? Because there are stories in which nobody dies, in which the hero saves everybody.
What I'm thinking of now,
right?
Probably something you haven't watched.
What's that?
The Obi-Wan Kenobi streaming series.
Oh, I have. I don't remember it, but I did watch it.
Well, you're probably better off for that. No, there's several there's several opportunities for Darth Vader to kill his enemies.
Right.
And he doesn't.
Right.
And there's no reason to not.
Except plot immunity. They're needed in the story.
Yeah.
But
meanwhile, he'll kill everyone else,
right.
like bystanders with
won't even think about it.
Yeah.
Well, just like wipe them out. But the two guys he should kill, he's like, nah, can't get to him. That's what plot immunity is. Like, it's not, not killing Batman if no one else is dying around him. Mm-hmm. It's everybody dying around Batman but Batman. Oh, you only read The Sacrificers. Oops. Yeah. The meta anti-god is why I did not get it. Yeah. Also known as plot armor. Right. Plot immunity. All action stories have that plot immunity. Certain characters never get hit by showers of bullets. I'm okay if no one's, like, if there's showers of bullets and no one is dying, that's fine. But it's like when, and also like when the showers of bullets are random, like in a war movie, I'm okay with that. Because I can always imagine well, you're not going to tell the story about the guys who didn't survive. You're going to tell the story about the guys who did survive. So we're in a war movie, and there's 16 characters in the platoon. I'm okay with 4 of those characters surviving. That's not really plot immunity. That's some of them are going to die, some of them are going to live. It's when the main character or the 2 main characters in this case, there's no reason not to kill them at that moment.
Or the concept of the relativity of pain. That's okay. I just got shot in the shoulder.
Oh, getting shot in the shoulder is like nothing in the movie. It's like,
yeah, no, dude, your arm is useless now.
Yeah.
Also, you have a giant gaping hole from a place with several arteries.
It's okay. I'm just shot in the shoulder. No problem.
Flesh wound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other day I saw an England video. He was complaining a scene from an old X-Men where something happened to Jubilee, and that's okay. I can run. I just broke my ribs. No, you can't run.
Oh, there was some show I was just watching where I was shocked. Tracker, a new show that's started, where the guy actually got shot. It actually was a flesh wound through the arm. It was through and out, but he couldn't move his arm. I was like, wow, that bullet wound actually did something, even though they specifically made it a minor. It went through, but he still couldn't use that arm. Even though it was a minor. Well, it wasn't a minor. It was a major flesh wound. But I was like, wow, they're actually not making him use that arm after he got shot. You don't see that too often. Like here's one. 7 Years in Darkness. This is 7 Years in Darkness, Year 2, Issue 1. I like this one. And this one is about a wizard school, except it only opens up every 100 years or so. And they take in like 100 new students, and only like 6 of them survive. And then eventually, when all 6 of those are dead, they open up the wizard school again, which usually takes about 100 years for whatever reason. But something like this,
I would love to read that brochure.
You don't have a choice, by the way. The families have pledged their children for generations, but since it only opens up 100 years, you're like, it's not going to be my kid. Then when it's your kid, you're like, oh crap, because they're all members of this secret society. But like something like this, I wouldn't, since we already know only 6 or so of them are going to survive. We know 94 of them are dead. So when they kill, they kill random ones I'm okay with them not killing the main characters in this, or the main characters somehow surviving an attack. By the way, they all wear these different variations of masks. So I don't even know who the main characters are anymore, because they all have these white masks with an occasional symbol on them. And some are like cut off halfway. Some are cut off a quarter way. And the artist, writer, Joseph Schmalke, I don't think he's always that keen on us knowing exactly who each character is. So it's like, I don't think I think in year 1, there was like 4 main characters. I'm not sure they're all the same main character. I just lost track completely. I still enjoy it, but I'm like, who is this guy who's going crazy? Who is this guy who died? I don't know. They're mostly cannon fodder anyway, so oh well. But good. I like his writing. I like his artwork. But I've just lost track of who the main characters are. Harry Potter Hunger Games. Yeah, that got dark. It is a dark one. Let's see. Oh, Liz is here. Unless you're wearing a red shirt, then you know. You're expendable. Do you have a Reed Ripper slab? I could pull one up. Let's see what we got. I don't think since I had the Don Perlin in that window, I didn't want to confuse myself, but now I can. Pick a decade. Anywhere from the 40s to the 90s.
50s.
The 50s. Let's go to 1955 August at DC Comics. What do I have for you? We have Brave and the Bold, number 2, Mystery in Space, number 28, and Our Army at War, number 39. Why is there an extra 20 after it? What did I do there? Something slipped in. So I don't know what issue that is. It's the 29 or 39 or 20. Probably 39. That 20 didn't get deleted from the old one. There you go. Some cheesy DC goodness. Except for Our Army at War. That's probably not cheesy. Let's see. What are they saying in that? I need the bigger version. The Viking Prince, the Silent Knight, the Golden Gladiator. Mystery in Space, they're saying Earthmen can't help themselves. As soon as they come near those spacemen, they're compelled to laugh. I wonder why. Featuring This Radio Planet. And Our Army at War is featuring Trench Trap and other explosive battle action stories. Oh, I didn't even notice those guys laughing.
All right, I've got to read Mystery in Space. I don't know if I'm breaking protocol by just jumping in.
You can jump right in whenever you got a decision
so quickly, but I got to read that. I got to know.
I gots to know.
Yeah.
Oh, Tit Goblin's already made his decisions. He makes snap decisions. Rip Army, read Mystery, and slab Brave. So he's reading Mystery with you.
You got to slab Brave because that's gonna escalate value the most.
Number 2, no one cares about number 2s.
I'm going to read Brave and the Bold because it's got those pre-superhero characters that I know absolutely nothing about. The Viking Prince and the Silent Knight. And I'm going to slab Mystery in Space. It's something that I can keep the mystery.
Ah. It's a nice cover to just look at and go,
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like pop art.
Yeah.
Because now you remove the context.
I wonder how much a Mystery in Space 28 costs.
And I'm going to rip Our Army at War, even for a war cover, a war comic. This looked like a very interesting cover. It's kind of that's not a Joe Kubert.
I want to know who's in the trap.
Nazis, obviously. Look at
It could be that Americans in the trap. We don't know. Good evening, Comic Crack. Let's see. Undead Quinn's going to rip Brave and the Bold, read Mystery in Space, and slab Our Army at War. I think I'm going to... I want to read Our Army at War because I want to know who's in that. I want to know more about that trap. Which means I'm going to slab Mystery in Space because I like that cover. I'm going to ponder the mystery just like Paolo. Which means I have to rip the Brave and the Bold. I'm going to separate, who is that, the Viking Prince? From his dragon head.
All right, so I'm going to dolphin the Nazi soldiers.
The soldiers will be walking into a trap. The dolphins will be.
Mm-hmm. And the flamingos are going on the aliens' heads. That That's why they're laughing, because the flamingos are on their heads.
I'm going to put the flamingos on the edge of the trench looking into it, right next to the cover copy. And I'm going to dolphin that dragon's head on the ship.
Mm.
So it's going to have a dolphin's head instead of a dragon's head. Maybe
I
I'll
thought
give
about-
the dolphin's head some horns.
Yeah, I thought about putting the flamingos on the dragon's horns, but I think they'll be funnier in Mystery in Space.
That would, that Mystery in Space cover is pretty funny already, but that would actually add to the funniness.
Mhm.
Let's see, what's Wilson doing? He is reading Mystery in Space, slabbing Army, and ripping Brave and the Bold. Dolphin on the coming Army, and have the flamingos on the Mystery in Space cover so they can also laugh. So he likes your plan.
But the flamingos don't laugh. They're just surprised that they're there.
Yeah, they're like, what's going on here? We're flamingos.
What's the deal with all the laughing at aliens?
See what Mind the Comics up to. He's going to read Army. He's with me. Slab Mystery. He's with me. Dolphin those Nazis. Flamingos looking around and flow away.
See, everybody wants to dolphin the Nazis.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be pretty surprising to find yourself on a World War II trench and flamingos walk up to you with guns.
So is that Brave and the Bold, the Joe Kubert cover?
Could be. Let me check. So it's number 2.
Is that Mystery in Space? I recognize that face. It's like a Kurt Swan or somebody. And I don't know about our Army at War.
Irv Novick on the Brave and the Bold.
Ah, okay.
But the Viking Prince story is drawn by Joe Kubert.
Wow, I didn't realize Irv Novick was drawn that early for them. Well, I guess it's not that early. Well, I really know him from the late 70s, so it was 20 years later.
The Mystery in Space is
Russ Heath art, Our Army at War, says 62 Lefty Blues. Okay, that's Russ Heath.
Huh.
Brave color covers look like Simonson's Thor. Huh.
Okay, I'm surprised that. Oh, but this is one of those Nick Caputo with identifications. Nick Caputo says Gil Kane drew the Mystery in Space cover.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I can see it on the guy on the right.
Caputo put Kane in place of a previous identification of Cy Berry. I can believe Cy Berry. The faces kind of look like they appeared in the Phantom comic.
Wow, and that guy laughing with the dark blue hair has Norman Osborn hair.
Yeah, he has a Ditko head, doesn't he?
That's the Norman Osborn hair too.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that too often. Yeah, so got a Ditko-esque face. Gil Kane?
I really don't see it.
That face in the bottom left in Mystery looks like a face you'd find pasted over a Kirby drawing in the Fourth World.
No, I can see that it could be Cy Berry. I mean, I've read too many Phantom stories that the style looks familiar. Even the way that the faces are near the. Yes, I can see Cy Berry. I totally disagree with that. This is Gil Kane.
Yeah, I don't know. When did Gil Kane start drawing?
At DC.
Yeah. Did he start in the 40s? In general?
Yeah, I think he started around 1949.
Okay. Armored. Those are some nice covers. Good typography on them too. I like those logos.
First, so what is this?
Comics Code's a little big and awkward.
Yeah, but that was normally
Yeah.
it's the first year of the Comics Code, so make sure people can see it.
Make sure people can see it. Let's see. We can. Another comic I got this week is The Principles of Necromancy #2.
Yeah.
This has turned into a pretty nice horror comic. This is the one with the crazy doctor. Let's see if I can go solo again without kicking myself out. There's the doctor in his plague mask, working in his lab. And there he is without his mask with his coal eyes. And the doctor basically does creepy things. This story is about, he gets a letter from a little girl. There's the little girl. It was like, Doc, you got to come to my town. Well, she was writing all the big city, Doc. This takes place in some fantasy world. You have to come to my littler town and save my mother who's been sick. So the plague doctor shows up, performs brain surgery on the mother, takes a tumor out, and then uses the tumor to build whatever crazy monstrosity he's working on. And then the little girl is like, I want to learn from you. I want to be an apprentice. And he's like, no, get out of here, kid. And she's like, no, I won't leave. And so he gives her some scary things to do before he runs out on her. And leaves her to find these group of half-dead patients who he was experimenting. It's just creepy, creepy book. I've enjoyed the first couple issues of this. And some gross drawing. Like, it was funny. I compare it to Ice Cream Man. And then I was like, there was supposed to be an issue of Ice Cream Man out this week, but it didn't make it to my comic shop. So I was a little like, hey, what happened to Ice Cream Man? And this is also what company? Magma Comics. Here's another comic company. Where'd they come from? Let's see.
Morton Hat Magma.
They came from San Diego, California. Magma Comics is a trademark of Molten Core Media, LLC.
Molten Core Media.
They've got Denton J. Tipton, president and publisher, Bobby Kernow, editor-in-chief, Joe Elad, directors of sales and marketing, Mike Ford, director of operations, Sean Lee, design director, David Gallagher, social media manager, Melissa Mazzaro's publicist, Dirk Vanover, legal counsel, and Jeff Weber, international rights manager. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's a lot less than 27. Let's see. Ruben Marrero cover on Mystery.
Ruben Moreira. I'm not very familiar with his artwork. He worked on Roy Raymond. But from what I'm seeing here, there's a Tarzan strip. No, that does not look like Ruben Moreira at all. In fact, the Tarzan strip art I see by Ruben Moreira looks more like Gil Kane than that cover. No, but Moreira inks himself. So this does not look like that art on the Mystery in Space cover. Not at all.
Not at all.
Although
Mystery.
there's a Detective Comics page here on Heritage Auctions. Let me see this. Looks more DC style here, so I guess. But no, the inking's totally wrong.
Wrong inking.
So no, I wouldn't bet on Ruben Moreira. I'm going to bet on Cy Berry.
You're sticking with Cyberry.
Yeah.
That sounds like a. Every time you say Cyberry, sounds like a 90s Image Comics hero. He's in the Cybernary. His name, he's Cyber. It stands for cyber something. Because everything was cyber at Image Comics.
Was it?
Clearly, I'm exaggerating, Chris.
Cyber Death Blood Kill.
But they did have Cyber Force, and they did have the Cybernary. And they did have heroes that were cyber-based in a lot of the teams. Maybe you're not familiar enough with Image Comics to know this stuff.
Okay, let me go down the list of the books that I can remember from that time. Spawn.
I just said Cyber Force. Do you not remember Cyber Force? I just said Cybernary. Do you not remember Cybernary?
Yeah, I remember those two
conveniently,
books.
the cyber ones you don't remember.
And in Cyber Force, the villains were called Cyber Data.
Why should I have to list them if you've already listed them?
Because we're trying to think of cyber-based characters.
It's actually pretty difficult.
Wasn't
your
hard when I
exaggeration,
mentioned those two.
Your
Maybe you're having a
more
difficult
like absolute fabrication. I don't think there were any Image characters cyber-based. None.
Like Wetworks, they were not cyber-based at all.
What were they? They were like symbiote-based or something. Was there? Yeah. Did they have like living armor or something?
I didn't read that long enough to ever get the explanation of what that stuff was, but
I just remember they're like shiny liquid stuff on them.
Yeah, they were symbiotes, but they never
Gil
said
Kane and Carmen Infantino did the interiors.
Yeah, I suppose Infantino was Kane's assistant at the time, I think.
Ah. But as we know from Monolith #1, explanations didn't always make sense in the Imageverse.
Unless you call him Cyber Monolith.
Cyber Monolith. Oh, isn't there's a Cyber Spawn too? And there's a Cyber Gorilla.
Cygor.
Cygor. There you go. A Cyber Gorilla.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. You thought of another cyber character. Good job, Chris.
Well,
you deserve some hearts for your...
You were talking about...
There you go.
All the titles had cyber in the title.
There you go.
What you
Spawn,
said.
and then you mentioned Spawn, and Spawn had one. I bet Savage Dragon had a cyber-based character, too. Let's see if we can
Super Patriot. Super Patriot.
There
was
we go.
Cyborg.
Completely cyber-based.
You got the guy with 3 arms in Cyber Force. That's Striker?
Spartan?
Yes. Spartan was, I think, an android.
Yes.
Yes.
Not a cyborg at all.
Ladytron. Ladytron was a cyborg.
I'm thinking rather than cyborg, cyber just means like computer.
Mm-hmm.
Techie.
Yeah.
What was that thing that Walt Simonson worked on for Top Cow?
Don't know.
Weapon Zero.
Weapons. I remember that name, but I have no idea what that was.
I didn't know that he did that.
I think I saw his art on it. It may have been for a card set at least.
Okay.
I know he did an annual for Cyberforce, I think.
Oh, that's right. He did. Now that you mentioned, I think he did do a Cyberforce annual.
Yeah.
And I have an absolutely destroyed copy of it. because Cyberforce was one of those books
It was
that
your
was on my
favorite book.
pull list. So I
Yeah, it
have
was your
like
favorite. It was
I
your
have like
favorite.
20 issues of Cyberforce. Don't remember much from them. But then I remember someone saying, "Oh yeah, there was also a Cyberforce annual."
Oh yeah.
And then somehow I ran into it and bought it out of the dollar bin or something.
Okay.
And
Walter
it was
wrote.
only like 10 years old at that time. But it was like,
Wal-
how did they manage to damage this comic so badly in this short a time? Especially in the day and age when people bag and board everything.
Walter wrote Weapon Zero.
Okay. Everyone was on the cyber wave in the 90s, says Tit Goblin. Don't say everyone. Chris will get on you. You don't want to get G. Russo'd.
Yeah.
No.
He wrote
He's
and did
actually
not
right.
drew it.
What Jared said was every title at Image had cyber in the logo and the title.
I don't believe that's what I've said. Roll back the tape.
Roll it back.
Wilson remembers that book that Paolo was talking about. Liz Lapoff says, so what are the figurines behind Chris? Are they mini Marvel metal sets? They are everything. Chris has given us a tour before, and he has got everything back there. It is crazy how many things he has.
Should I do another tour?
You want to do another tour?
I don't mind if that's what the people want. But if they're like, no, don't bother, then I don't want to.
Do you want to
Or
tour,
people.
Liz?
I don't want to waste anyone's time.
Chris, do you want to partake in Free Comic Day? Did you partake in Free Comic Day, Chris?
I went to a comic store and
He was working Free Comic Day, right? At a store?
I did some sketches and signed books. I picked up the Transformers, or I guess they would say the Energon book from Skybound. Awesome stuff in there. Some Ryan Otley artwork, some Jason Howard artwork.
Even Batman had a cyberspace issue and was bad. Liz wants a tour. Oh, we lost Chris. Or his device not connected. He must be switching devices. I would guess. One never knows. Or maybe he's jacking in. He's becoming cyber himself. Liz asked for a tour, and Chris left. It's like, no way. 0 for you, young man. Oh, he's back.
For the button to flip my camera around.
He's back.
And then I hit the camera, and then it stopped my camera.
Liz says I broke it. His whole studio is virtual, says Tit Goblin.
I don't know how do I turn this camera around?
There's no little button on the screen with the circular arrow?
There must be. I've done it before.
Yeah.
Settings. Here we go.
He found it. There we go. He's going to
right.
show us some toys now.
So this is the wall that was behind me. Got a lot of Justice League Unlimited stuff.
Hold on. Why don't I make him big? Why do I have him small? There we go. Now we can see the tour better. Tour of toys.
Here's my Kirby shelf. Fourth World.
Now, why are those ones in the middle still in the package? Just for the heck of it?
Because they're hard to find ones that were gifted to me. So
they're ones that should be kept in the package.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah,
just for the heck of it.
Yeah, normally I buy all my stuff loose to begin with.
Yeah,
and then I have a huge moral issue with like, oh, I can't be the one to open one of these. like this, Guy Gardner's a real tough to find one.
Oh, okay.
And that was either a Christmas or birthday gift. Lobo, another one. Where is he?
Lobo. You're like, I don't want to devalue my Christmas gift, so I'll leave it.
Hey, X-Men 97's hot right now, right?
It is. Look at all those X-Men. Though, I have heard it's a little too woke for some people.
Yeah, since when is X-Men woke?
Let's see. 62 Lefties here says Boof and the Bruise Crew. I don't know who they are. They must have passed by.
Boof and the Bruise Crew was a McFarlane
Oh, okay.
book. It was like his one other book. I think there was two of them. One was called Boof and one was called Boof and the Bruise Crew.
I think I have a vague memory of Boof, but I'm not 100% sure.
But they were like by design, like I think
Yeah.
like cartoony, like it was supposed to be like kid stuff. And,
Chris, do you have any GoBot rock lords? The ones that transform into rocks?
I think I have one.
Oh, Rock Lords? They transform into rock?
Yeah. That was one of the dumbest ideas in toys ever. The robot turns into a rock.
It's fun to play with in his rock form. You can throw them at people.
Then you can buy another one.
There's a table you can sit and play with a couple of toys if you want.
Look at that. Now you can throw it at somebody. Look at that. It looks just like a rock. Isn't that awesome? Get out of here with your Lamborghini that turns into a robot. I have a rock.
Liz says, "Holy moly, wolvies!"
Yeah, I'm making Paulo's day. I can't believe this. I can't believe how... We can
Paolo is
revisit.
too happy you have that.
Can we revisit the Wolvie wall here?
Yeah.
Let's see. A couple of Wolvies here. Then we have Morph. Every version of Morph with like each head. Morph, zombie,
and strong guy.
evil Morph, Cyclops Morph, Wolverine Morph.
And strong
see.
guy.
More Wolverines.
Timberwolf Wolverine.
Weapon X with green wires. Weapon X with orange wires.
Ooh.
And we got like Cyber Wolverine. We got Cyber Suit. Spacesuit Wolverine. There's Cable. What? Robot Cyborg Wolverine. That's actually, what did they call him?
Albert.
Albert. Another Space Wolverine. Spy Gear Wolverine. 3 different Spy Gear Wolverines.
You'll never see him coming.
No, you won't. But man, this is the guy that kicked off the cyber stuff, put it into full gear. Where did he go? Cable.
Cable, yeah. Mr. Cyber.
And the shoulder pads.
A rock.
Yeah.
Fantastic, says Wilson. Undead Quinn says, my pet rock existed. A transforming rock, that's not far.
Oh.
Liz says, Charlie Brown, I got a rock. A classic Charlie
Hey,
Brown
SpongeBob.
Halloween line.
Some wrestlers.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Hey, the Bushwhackers.
The Mountie.
Jimmy
Where's the
Superflex.
Mountie? The Mountie. Here he is.
Virgil. And Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, and the millionaire.
Oh, yeah.
The Hulkster. What are you going to do when wrestling's largest arms are running wild over you?
What you gonna do, brother? I have my other Macho Man over here.
Liz says she's beyond impressed, gotta say.
All right. How about these guys?
Ooh.
Huh.
Apache Chief, Black Lightning. Ooh, what's that guy's name? The guy in green from Sean Connery.
Samurai.
Oh, no, okay. I'm thinking of a different guy. That's Samurai. You're right. What was the
Oh, yeah.
Zartax? What's the guy Superman fought who was based on the guy at Sean Connery movie?
Vartox.
Vartox. That was it.
Is there a toy of him?
I don't know. Undead Quinn says the rubber ones are rare. WWF rubber ones. There they are. Is that George the Animal Steel?
Hey, it's a Mean Gene.
Yeah, there he is.
With the green tongue.
Yeah, sticking out of his mouth. Mean Gene.
I just got a friend of mine gave me.
Yeah,
Miss
Zardoz was
Elizabeth.
the movie. Yeah, that's the.
Hogan and Jesse.
USSR. What was his name again? Ivan.
This is Nikolai Volkov.
Oh, Nikolai Volkov. Okay. No, Ivan, I think, was after him.
There was Ivan Putski. Is that who you're thinking of?
No, he's the Polish one.
The Polish power?
There was another Soviet one, I think, after Nikolai.
Boris Zukov.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of him.
They were tag team partners at one point.
Okay.
I remember when the Iron Sheik turned into Colonel Mustafa.
A Sheik. Is that Coco Beware? Who's that next to the?
Kidding me?
I don't know who that is.
That's the Junkyard Dog. That's JYD,
Junkyard.
baby.
Was Junkyard Dog Coco Beware, or was he somebody else?
No, they're two different guys.
Okay.
Way to go, Jared.
Mixing up the two black guys.
That's
John
S.D.
Boorman
Jones.
movie.
I thought
Jimmy
a
Snuka.
lot of people mistake him for Coco Beware because he's got
Who is
that
that?
loud shirt. That's S.D. Jones, Special Delivery Jones.
I remember him, yeah. He's from the early 80s, late 70s even. Undead Quinn says they're clean 40-plus old figures. Yeah.
Some of them are cleaner than others. I always think like, I gotta restore all these beat up ones, and it's like, no, I'm not. I'm never gonna. There's no
Liz
time.
wants
There's
to
no
know, is
time.
Rocket in there somewhere? You mean Rocket Raccoon? Or is Rocket a wrestler?
Rocket or the Rock?
I don't know. She says, is Rocket in there somewhere? When I
don't
hear
think I
Rocket,
have-
I think the raccoon.
Yeah, I think a raccoon too, but I don't think we have any Rocket Raccoon in this whole studio.
Wow. They won't let you play with the Happy Meals. J.J. Walker. With some wacky packages. Raccoon, yeah, Rocket Raccoon. That's the one she was looking for. No Rocket Raccoons in the whole place. That's weird.
You know what? It's not weird because we're more of a retro
Yeah.
lean.
You have to wait a few more years till Rocket's more nostalgic.
Well, they have to make a retro style figure, which I don't know exactly how you'd style that.
If you just wait another decade, it'll be retro, the style it was originally in.
Yeah, but will my taste
Will your taste
adjust to that?
evolve? Yeah.
Because my taste is like, all the stuff that when I was a kid is the stuff I want, or the stuff designed to look like that.
Underdog, the Sue Shoeshine boy, and what's her name? Polly Pocket?
I think
Polly-
Pure Heart.
Polly Pureheart? Polly Pocket's a whole different toy line. Usagi Yojimbo. There's a new Usagi Yojimbo Turtles comic and cartoon, I think. Animated cartoon.
All right, baby. Got Rambo. Yeah, that was they could somehow take rated R properties and market them to children.
Brave
Tit
Star.
Goblin says food fighters, impressive.
These really are cool looking.
They are. Look at them. Wow. Ugly food that's going to beat you up.
This shelf is looking kind of sad. It's collapsing underneath their weight.
Uh-oh.
Have to fix that.
Used to upgrade those shelves.
Yeah.
I am Gumby, damn it.
Remember Mac Tonight?
Oh, yeah. The McDonald's mascot for a while, Moonface. Do. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Put them on a T-shirt.
There you go. The only good drawing by Jacob Chabot.
Remember starting lineup?
Oh, yeah. They still make those, I think. I've seen, or maybe not starting lineup, but they still make the figures. Sports figures.
And Todd McFarlane makes them all.
Yeah. You can now get yourself as a custom Funko Pop.
How much will it cost me?
What was that?
How much would that cost me?
$40.
We're not that big on Funko Pops here. I mean, we have a couple lying around, but again, these were gifted
Right.
to us.
Right. I just have the ones I've painted. He-Man. Let's see. Wilson asks, any Chuck Norris? And Tit Goblin asks, any Troll Dials, 90s Extreme?
No
Liz is
troll dolls.
impressed by Major League Baseball. I have that Mets Pez.
Let's see. We got some guys like this. There's Chuck Norris,
There he is.
and I call that guy the Last Dragon.
The guy on the left there,
The guy on the right.
on the right with the V on all black.
Looks
Ah.
like an evil Danielson.
It's a bootleg Karate Kid, but I just say he's the Last Dragon. Bruce
Okay.
Leroy. This guy's pretty cool. Head turns around.
And he's somebody else.
That's from
Monster.
He-Man, right?
Monster face. At the time there was a lot of
Any
bootleg
Mad
stuff that looked
Balls,
like
says Comic
He-Man.
Crack? The troll is rare,
Trolls are rare.
says Undead Quinn.
Uh,
Universal Monsters Burger King toys.
got
were
some
great.
Mad Balls behind my.
Oh, they're hiding behind the. Are those actual Transformers or?
Yeah,
They
they're
are.
blaster.
Blaster and
He turned into a ghetto blaster.
Some Mad Balls.
so most of these are just modern
Right.
ones that I bought in like I don't know 6 or 7 years ago, but that one is my original from when I was a kid. I don't know how that survived.
Undead Quinn said it is a He-Man bootleg with a troll head. I don't know which one he's talking to. Sweet, says Comic Crack.
Saying which one? This one?
I
Or
don't
the
know.
one I was just turning his head on?
The troll, whatever the troll is.
The He Troll. So I assume he's referring to something I don't have.
Okay. Well, we should wrap up the tour anyway because it's almost
Yeah.
time for us to say goodnight. Always fun to get a tour of the toys. You get them out of
Oh,
Solo.
wait, you know what? I didn't even show all my Transformers
Hold on. We'll show the Transformers before we go.
real quick.
There we go. Robots in Disguise. That's his
Yeah.
main nostalgia hit right there.
There's the Jazz.
Mainlining Transformers right into his veins.
Jazz turns into a Martini Racing Porsche 935. Jetfire.
Paolo loves the racing cars.
Macross.
There's the
Okay.
Transformer I recognize. The red
RC.
one. Who's the red Transformer, the famous one up there?
Optimus Prime, baby.
Optimus Prime. That's why I recognize him. 'Cause he's the most famous Transformer. Prime Transformer, if you will.
There's also Wheeljack. Wheeljack turns into a
Liz says, toidally cool. Nice toy pun for you.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we should say goodnight. Thanks for the tour, Chris.
My pleasure.
Everybody enjoyed it. Let's end with, let's see, we got to get some confetti. Oh, pardon me, these are the lasers. Then we got to get some confetti. Then finally, some balloons. All right.
Wow.
Wilson says G1 goodness. Wilson
That's
didn't
right,
have a
baby.
steady enough signal tonight for him to join us. He kept fading out, so he's in the comments.
Too bad. Good to hear from you anyway.
Yeah. All right, so everybody else, have a good night out there. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Ta-ta. Cheerio. Pip, pip.